What's up, guys?
Interesting moment there with John, kind of in a jovial spirit today. What did you think of that?
I don't know. Hey, he came back. He seems like he's in a good mood. I just talked to him for a minute. I just got here, but seems like he's in a good mood.
Should be, right, with the big announcement, Gatorade.
Yeah, his life doesn't suck, right? He's got a lot to be happy about.
What do you think about that? A major sponsor coming in. I mean, being obviously it's a sponsor of him, not of the UFC, but I mean, that's still got to be a proud day for you too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, we let it happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's getting all the big ones too. Him and George St. Pierre have some serious sponsors. I like it.
Dana, Gustafsson is a huge underdog for this fight. I know the bookies are making odds to get people to make bets, but do you feel that Gustafsson's being a bit disrespected?
I don't know. John Jones is really good. You know, I think that they're making lines that they don't want a lot of money going on Jones because they think Jones is going to win. So you know, that's the way the book works. Jones is good, really good.
Dana, if you can just comment a bit, coming off of Saturday's the Mayweather scorecard, there seems to be a bit of a shakedown right now within Nevada.
Isn't that funny? There's a shakedown when they make a mistake in boxing, right?
Well, that was my question.
Everybody's going to lose their job when they make a mistake in boxing, but you know,
in an indirect way,
our stuff up all the time.
In an indirect way, though, do you not somewhat benefit from this, where it seems like it's going to be more of a thorough process here?
Yeah, I think things are going to change. I think things are finally going to change in Nevada.
Dana, did you see the day when your fights are all about the purse, which is what the Mayweather fight was all about?
You know, I don't know if that fight was all about the purse. Obviously, the purse was pretty crazy. It's, you know, and now the talk is that they broke the record, that they did break the pay-per-view record. It's that this thing might come in around 2.6, 2.7, which is amazing. And it's one of those things that I always say. I was rooting for him, and I was joking. I said, I hope you guys do 3 million. They almost did 3 million. And it just sets the bar where if you had that fight was the perfect storm. You had this Mexican that entire country was behind. You had this guy who hasn't lost a fight in 17 years and is really good at selling fights. And it's amazing what the potential is for the right fight.
Dana, how does that affect your pay-per-view? You know, given that people paid $75 to watch that last week, how does that affect your show?
So the question is how many of those buys were Hispanic? You know, a lot of Hispanic buys there, and I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be great for me. It's not like you know, everybody's got a bunch of pay-per-view cash laying around, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it affects us.
Then if Alexander wins this, what can you expect in the near future? What's going to happen to him?
He's going to be the champion, and his life's going to change. And maybe he'll get Gatorade.
In what way is his life going to change?
When you have that belt, everything changes. Everything changes when you're the champion. You know, obviously the attention, the money, everybody's gunning after you. There's a lot of pressure. You know, the John Jones. Hate to take your Alexander question and flip it to John Jones, but John Jones has really turned around and changed his life in the last year. He's a young guy, got that belt. You saw what happens when fame and money and all that stuff starts to come together. And I'm really happy with the way he's turned around.
To flip back,
you know, you'll see the pressure that goes on Alexander if he wins that belt.
To go back to what you were saying, you know, a couple years ago you had the Dallas show that you went against Mayweather, and you know the one with that Nick Diaz fought. The minute that fight was called, I was like, we're not going. We tried to figure out where we wanted to fall. Yeah.
Did we want to land before that fight? Did we want to land after that fight? Because if you going up against a big fight like that, if you go before, they take up all the cross-channel marketing. They're going to get all the cross-channel marketing. So we felt it was better to land behind them instead of in front of them.
So going forward, is that what you'll do, or do you have to look at how you do
that
on this
depends
show
on the
before
fight.
You decide?
Depends on the fight. I mean, there's tons of boxing fights that'll happen that we wouldn't sweat.
Right.
The minute that one got announced, we knew that was a sweater.
Because you know he's fighting Cinco de Mayo again. He said so.
Yeah.
You know, so when you go there, does your planning? Like
but you see one of the fights that we saw last weekend. I mean, honestly, if you could be a part of one of those fights in your lifetime, you know what I mean? It was that big. It was that crazy, and everybody involved in that fight did an amazing job. Even my boys at Showtime, they did a great job.
Dana, TJ Grant, as you know, has missed out on a couple of big fights because of injuries. If he's healthy again, will he still get?
He's going through the same thing that Anthony Pettis went through. Anthony Pettis went through the same thing. It's one of those unfortunate things that can happen in a contact sport. We're not going anywhere. You know, kid's just got to take his time, heal up, relax, and you know, we'll see what happens. Carlos Condit went through this. Chuck Liddell went through this at one point. You know, this happens.
With concussions?
So it'll be a matter of time.
No, I'm saying things that happen to you, things that unfortunate mishaps that when you have the big, look at Dominic Cruz. I mean, when you have the biggest fight of your life coming up and all these things start going wrong for you, it happens, you know?
So with the way you're phrasing that, it kind of seems like you're leaning away from him getting the title shot when he comes back.
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying these things happen, and you know, I'm sure he's really upset about it and it's driving him crazy, but, you know, Dominic Cruz did that season of The Ultimate Fighter against Uriah Faber and was supposed to fight on the Anderson Silva Chael Sonnen 2 and get a piece of pay-per-view. That kid lost his lottery ticket. You know, these things happen. Bad things happen like this. You know, it's part of the sport. There's nothing you can do about it.
Why doesn't the NFL have such an issue with concussions, though? And, you know, you rarely hear UFC fighters being out for extended period of time, and yet you're getting kicked and punched in the head. Why is the difference?
Well, the difference is that we're regulated by the government. When a guy gets knocked out or has anything like that, you're out for 3 months. 3 months with no contact, and before you can come back, you have to see a doctor again. In the NFL, they couldn't lose Peyton Manning for 3 months. You know, it would be the end of their season, or Tom Brady or another key player. It's just different. This sport's different. We're regulated by the government. And people keep asking me, so I can squash this before somebody else asks me, people keep asking me about the lawsuit that the NFL had. The NFL was holding back evidence of what concussions do to people from the players. We're regulated by the government with doctors that are put in by the government to test these guys and check them out and make sure everybody's healthy.
And just your concern about the guys, I know you have great concern for them and their well-being. What about in the gym? You know, because guys, sometimes that's where they say the most
damage is done. No, it's true. And here's the thing. It's like PEDs and many other other types of drugs. We can't babysit everybody. We can't police grown men. We can't, you know, we can lay down the rules. And if you were on a 3-month suspension because you were hit in the head or whatever your deal is in a fight, and you go back into the gym and start sparring again, first of all, you're a moron. Let's start with that. Number two, the people who handle you probably don't care about you. And you know, there's a lot of things that stack up to what would make a guy go in there and do that. It's just absurd, but we can't police that.
TJ Grant was saying last week to me that honesty is the most important thing in these situations from the fighter, because if they're not honest themselves, then they can't get back to where they need to be.
I agree. And going in and pushing yourself and saying, you know what, I don't want to miss this opportunity, so I'm gonna hurt myself to do it. It's ridiculous. We're not going anywhere. The belt's gonna be there no matter who has the belt. It will be there, and TJ Grant will figure the TJ Grant thing out when TJ Grant is healthy.
What was the rationale between giving Thompson the title shot over other people in the division?
Like who? Everybody else has had a shot at the title. You know what I mean?
Dos Anjos is on a winning streak.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Was it because of the trash talk between Pettis and Thompson, or was it just availability?
Yeah, we just felt. Yeah,
was Melendez close as well? Was he close to maybe getting another shot?
Yeah, well, Melendez just fought too. Melendez just fought for the title. Yeah, it
Changing topic for one moment. I'm from Poland, and do you plan organize UFC Gala in Poland? Because we've heard that you are in 2014. Is that true?
We're trying to go everywhere, and obviously, right here, right now, I couldn't honestly tell you about Poland, where we are in Poland, but. Yeah, we're coming to Poland too. I just don't know when.
But it's 2014 because it was like almost official information in our country that UFC will come to Poland.
Right. We've been this close to going to the Philippines and a couple of other places, and things fell through, last minute, whether it was a sponsor or whatever. So, yes, we are planning on coming to Poland. I don't know if it'll be 2014, but we're working on it.
What do you think the recipe of success of UFC is? What is the recipe to achieve success like UFC?
Well, first of all, I think that like we said a long time ago, what we believe, this thing works everywhere. It's an exciting sport, and we put on a great show, live event, and on television, and it just resonates. It resonates with human beings. Doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. everybody likes it and it works everywhere. I guess that's the recipe.
Do you know Piotr Kalman, the player, the competitor, which fight 4th of September? You gave him a bonus for the fight with Francisco Trinaldo. You remember that?
No. No.
Okay. And do you know any Polish competitor who will play on UFC 165? Daniel Milańczuk. Do you know him? Maybe.
Do I know him?
Yes.
Ivan Putski. Yeah, Ivan Putski.
Polish power, baby.
Dana, you know, in Sweden, a lot of people don't understand how big this is, the fight between Jones and Gustafsson. Can you try to convince them?
It's big, huge. Believe me.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, this fight, a lot of people have been criticizing Jon Jones for a long time, saying he's too big for this division. He makes 205 pounds. He's not too big for the division, number one. Number two, Gustafsson is actually taller than him, almost matches him in reach and length and everything else. So if he beats Gustafsson, they can't have that argument anymore. And obviously, for Gustafsson, Jon Jones is about to break the record for most title defenses, unless Gustafsson beats him on Saturday night and becomes the new light heavyweight champion. And it would be the first Swedish champion ever.
And what if Gustafsson wins this fight? How is that going to affect his life, do you think?
If he wins this fight, he becomes the world champion, and sponsorship, money, opportunities. I mean, everything changes. Once you get that belt, your life changes big time.
Would Jones get an automatic rematch?
There's never any automatic rematch clauses. We would go by, how the fight goes, and
does it help,
kind of a fight that deserves a rematch?
Does it help the development of the sport into Europe if he wins it as well, in your view?
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't hurt it. Having him the champion in Sweden, it definitely wouldn't hurt the European growth.
Would you have a defense over there?
We would have to. Plus, I mean, Sweden's awesome. I mean, every time we've done an event over there, it's been amazing. And yeah, we would for sure.
Do you have any updates on Dominic Cruz and how he looks?
First of the year, I hope,
Yeah, and, for the longest time, you stood behind him and said, we're not taking this guy's belt away, and then lately you've kind of said, well, it may
it's
be
getting to the point now where it's just like, if he can't fight at the beginning of the year, we got to pull the trigger.
There's no indictment on him, it's just a matter of...
Yeah, it's been 2 years. I mean, a lot of people think we're crazy for holding up the title this long, but, it's a tough thing to do, to take a title away from somebody, and it's hard to do.
If you had to make that call, do you know what you do? Would you just make whoever wins this fight the champ, or would you have another title fight that was like the actual belt? Or?
Well, no, the interim champ would become the champ, and then he would defend the title against whoever was next.
Is there thought in the UFC of raising the purses?
Is there a thought in what?
In the UFC of raising purses, it's sort of the bottom line.
To 41 million?
No, just the respective fighters' purses, starting from the low end. And
yeah, every time there's a new contract negotiation, we're raising a purse.
So guys now are making more, generally speaking, than they were a year or two.
Every time a fight happens, there's guys making more, yeah. When a guy wins a fight, he doesn't go backwards, he goes forward. And all this talk, I know I'm going to be hearing this shit forever now because these guys just did it's 41 guaranteed. When this is said and done with pay-per-view, Floyd will make almost $100 million. And, that's just...
So you were expecting, because of what Mayweather and the whole fight was, before the fight was about money, you were sort of expecting the guys were going to come up to you and say, these boxing guys are making this much money, what are your guys making?
The boxing guys aren't making that much money.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
You got a couple guys. It's always the same thing in boxing. You got a handful of guys that are making the crazy money, and good for them, man. The sport has been around for a long time. Well, people have to realize, we just started making money in 2007. Do people understand that? We just started making money in 2007. And this is nothing like boxing. It's completely different. We have a league. We go in and open up all these other countries. We spend millions of dollars growing the sport. Money gets invested back into the sport of mixed martial arts here. It doesn't happen in boxing.
Dana, this might sound like a weird question, but it seems like one of the aspects that draws people in Floyd so much is just his money and his lifestyle. Have you ever considered really making like a fight about money? Like, look how much money.
Dana money.
Yeah.
Look how rich St. Pierre is. Look what he's doing on his free time.
Let's face the facts. Floyd Mayweather, when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, not that many people were interested. When he became Money Mayweather, he became this huge personality. I'm in this business. We create these shows to, sell fights and entice people into these characters and do all this stuff. I watch the show and it's just, Floyd knows how to do it. Floyd took this money side, went out, he'll go out on one of the shows and bring a stack of money and buy a car and do all these things. And it's entertaining to people. People, whether they like it or they hate it, they're invested in the fight one way or the other, whether they want to see Floyd lose or win. He's done a great job at selling himself that way. And it's just, you just can't go out and just start throwing money around and say, all right, let's do this. We're going to turn somebody into a money guy. It just is what it is. And this sport is still so young, and there's so much. We're not even sanctioned in New York. We're not even sanctioned in New York. We've just been on Fox for a couple of years, and we're talking about doing a $41 million payday. It's crazy. It's just.
Have you paid attention to the feedback from fans about The Ultimate Fighter after 3 episodes, where it seems like Ronda was just this beloved star, and now, and she kind of hinted at some of this, it seems like Misha is gaining a lot of fans, and some people are getting turned off by Ronda just because of the friction and how one is being perceived as opposed to the other. Have you started to notice a shift in the fan bases?
No, I haven't. I don't know. I signed Ronda Rousey for a reason. That's why at first everybody was saying, oh, I had a crush on her. Yeah, I got a crush on her. Yeah. Now you see why I signed Ronda Rousey. It's the fight business, man, and she is the reason women fight in the UFC now.
It seems like this season has been very well received thus far, 3 episodes in, and we'll only really truly know how popular it is by the end, but is it almost surprising that it feels like people are, even on the show, more interested in the storylines involving the women than the men, that they're such a fresh, coat of paint on all this? And does it make you think that you should do this more seasons, full season with women, other stuff with the women?
Well, there aren't enough women to have women every season. But yeah, it's interesting, it's different, and yeah, we hope that would be the case.
Surprising?
No. Once I ended up bringing women in, I don't think anybody's surprised at how the season would go, especially the fights. I mean, the women's fights are always entertaining. They always give 100%, and it just gets better. The season keeps getting better and better and better.
And just a quick thing about the boxing. Of course, you've had your history with Showtime. Have you changed your stance on them? They've become the king of boxing now. I think there's no doubt about that. Do you change your views on how they are as promoters, as a network? Are you warming up to them a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if they've become the kings of boxing yet, but I can tell you this. They've done an amazing job of going after HBO, who has been around for 30-plus years, and done what they've done very well. They came in and they took a beating on that first fight. And then this one, I mean, they hit a home run. Every piece of the promotion, from what Floyd did, to what Golden Boy did, to what Showtime did, and what Canelo and his team did, it couldn't have been done any better. It was perfect. It was fun to watch. It was fun to be a part of, and it was fun to see how it all played out. And every one of them, everybody involved in that promotion that made a dime deserves it, because they did a great job.
Did you see any of the executives? Did you have a chance to talk to them?
I did. I bumped into all the executives. I bumped into all my boys, my buddies, and we exchanged pleasantries. And
did you really?
Yeah, we really did. They actually couldn't have been more hospitable and very cool about everything. So it was a fun weekend for me.
And do you think there'll ever be a day that a UFC fight is capable of doing 2.7 million pay-per-views?
I hope so. I mean, 13 years ago, people were asking me, do you ever think there'll be a day that the UFC could get back on pay-per-view? Do you ever think there'd be a day the UFC could get on free TV? Do you ever think there'd be a day where you'd be doing it in other countries? And here we are now. So yeah, I'd like to believe that yes, we will.
It's just the right people, is it, on the right day? Is that all it is?
Like I said, we just started making money in 2007. This thing is still, listen, I'm honored that we're always looked at like, why aren't you paying people $41 million? Why aren't you doing 2.7 million buys? That people feel like we should be at that level is, I guess I'm honored. Yeah.
Dana, speaking of pay-per-views, Bellator is having their first pay-per-view. They're saying they're going to charge between $35 and $45. Main event, you know what it is, Tito versus Rampage.
Right.
Eddie Alvarez versus Michael Chandler, King Mo versus Newton. First off, do you think it's worth the money? Second off, will you be buying it? And third off, what do you think of that main event?
rhetoric?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I'll wrap all those questions up in one answer. People don't want to watch it for free on TV right now, and they're charging $35 for it. So, who knows? Anything's possible, but...
You don't even look at this competition then as far as the pay-per-view business goes?
No. No.
What do you think about them signing all the ex-UFC fighters? They said they weren't going to do that, and they signed guys like John Alessio, 0-5 in the UFC, Chia Congo, they just signed, he's headlining their card next week.
Yeah. Well, when you know, and I'm not saying this to be, it's just a fact. You start getting desperate when you start losing a lot of money. You start getting desperate and you start throwing shit on the wall and see what's going to stick, you know? They're trying to do whatever they can to try to get some momentum or make some money.
Some people have said that Bjorn's not in charge of it right now. It's Viacom that's calling the shots.
There's no doubt about that. Anybody who thinks it's different is crazy. Viacom, that's Viacom's company and they're running it. That's why I call it Viacom MMA, because that's what it really is.
What do you think of him taking shots at you in the media, and Tito and Rampage also with the ESPN interview and stuff like that? Does it bother you at all or no?
No, I mean, what are they going to talk about? The fight? If Rampage and Tito are on ESPN, what are they going to talk about? The fight? So you guys have lost 9 of your last 10 fight combined. What does this fight mean to you guys? We want to get paid? We want to make some money? We're hoping to sell some pay-per-views? I mean, what else would they say?
I want to ask you one more thing. Michael Chandler, their lightweight champion. Bjorn's promoting as the #1 lightweight in the world. You have Anthony Pettis. I mean, obviously, you would say the same thing if he was your fighter too, but I mean, do you think he's a guy that could potentially step in the UFC and contend for a title at some point?
Well, what's happened to other guys who've come over from Bellator and fought in the UFC?
You see Hector Lombard lost a couple fights. The level of competition, I guess, is different. How about Ben Askren, though? Because you even said that's a guy that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Do you think he could make some...
You work for Bellator?
No. I don't work for Bellator at all, no.
Just a quick question. You love Toronto. Did you come for the maple syrup, or what was it you?
No, I love Canada, man, and I love this city a lot. It's beautiful, nice places to stay, nice places to shop, great restaurants. I love it up here.
One more final question. I see that you're like
I love the media too. Except for that guy.
I can see you're good with the ladies and you're a charming guy.
Oh, really?
I'm having problems with dates right now. Do you have any tips to get in shape like you are? My mom says I'm fat.
I love the media up here, man. To get in shape?
Yeah, or just to get ladies dates. And I have a problem with that.
What do you work for, Howard Stern, man? What is this?
Well, it's just
you gonna start yelling Baba Booey in a minute?
Oh, it's just talking me wrong. Just having trouble with the dates. If you have any advice?
Yeah, shave your head. I'm kidding. I don't know, man. What do you think? I'm some ladies' man or something?
Ronda Rousey.
Oh, she's my girlfriend? She fights here.
You're always like, you have that charm, you're very like confident on camera, so something maybe you can advise me if I have to try to get a date.
This is the first time I've ever been stumped at a press conference. You got me at this one. I don't know what to tell you, man. Good luck.
Just lose weight, right? Get the
you don't look like you're heavy. Get in the chair. Get on UFC Fit. That'll do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana. Recently, longtime WWE announcer Jim Ross, he left the WWE. He's kind of made it public now. He would like to transition over to mixed martial arts. Having that pro wrestling background, is that something you want to shy away from? Would you be open to it, whether it be in front of the camera, behind the scenes?
He's been in the office before and talked to us and stuff. He's a great guy. A lot of the guys from the WWE are really supportive and are fans of the UFC. I don't know. I never even thought about it. I saw it on Twitter and stuff, but I never even thought about it yet.
Dana, you said that you said that this is a really young sport, but even though it's very popular here in North America, why is that?
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's exciting and it's awesome and it's fun to watch and it's, I don't know.
What do you say about the future then?
The future of the sport? I think it's going to be big. I think right now we're in 175 countries, 23 languages, and over 1 billion homes on television worldwide, and I think it's just going to keep getting bigger. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you clarify the Cruz situation, are you going to put anything in place about these interim titles, or are you going to go by feel on each case?
Yeah, I think we do need to set a standard on what happens if somebody,
And I was thinking about this, and this becomes an issue. You know, if you say, hey, if you don't defend the title in a year, we strip you, then you might get a guy go in the cage unhealthy because he doesn't want to get stripped of the title. I mean, there's always
that's a good point.
You know, both sides of it. So
that's a good point.
How do you?
Well,
but if he's guaranteed to come to fight when he comes back, then
but it would be tough too for him to get in unhealthy. You know, they get checked by doctors. I mean, you'd really have to. Although Tim Gorman snuck in with an injury, you know. Things can happen.
Do you have any idea what that standard might entail? I mean, have you started to kick it around at all?
No.
Then, what is in Jose Aldo future? Will he fight Lamas or schedule? Or we will wait for the patches?
We'll wait and see what happens, and then we'll go from there.
You know, what do you think about Jones kind of dismissing Glover as the next title challenger? He said he's not ready for him yet, and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about that?
He's not his trainer. He's not his, you know.
Do you think kind of takes away
Glover's been around forever.
As like a next challenger?
Glover's been around forever. He's on a, what's his win streak? 20 fight win streak. I think he's ready.
If Alex wins,
he might not be ready for John Jones. John might be right, but he's ready for a title shot. That's for sure.
He's getting the next title
shot. If Alex wins now this weekend, is the card he's gonna fight at next, or are you looking at having another card in April in Sweden?
I don't know. We got to see what happens first. I will be predicting no futures here today. I will not be predicting who will win, what will happen, or any of that.
But will you still be back in Sweden next year?
If he wins?
No.
No, I'm kidding. Yes, probably. Sweden is awesome. Every time we go to Sweden, it's a huge success. It's a great place to go. I love the meatballs, and yeah, we'll probably go back.
How big would a fight be in the Philippines?
What's that?
How big would a fight be in the Philippines?
Huge. Be huge. We've been working on that for a long time. Like I was just telling one of these guys over here, it was this close.
Yeah.
This close once, and we bailed, and now it's looking like we're back on again.
You know, GSP went there before. He said he couldn't leave his hotel.
Crazy. Neither could Chuck Liddell. The police had to pull Chuck Liddell out of the streets one day. It was crazy.
Probably not for the first time.
Touche.
What's the status of Tough China? Because Kung Lee said that he was going to go there, and then he stayed back, but now he's going to go as kind of like a mentor for them. Is Tough China happening?
Tough China is happening.
What's his role?
Tough China is a go. He's going to be the me in China. Yeah, he's going to go. They're not the promoter. You're just there. He's there to remind everybody why they're there and what's going on, and you know.
He's going to play that role on the show. You won't go on any episodes. You don't speak.
I don't know. How
to say, can you be a fucking fighter in China?
That's right. I can't do it, so he's going to have to.
And will it be the same setup where there are two coaches? Because there aren't many options as far as known.
Yep. Tough China is a go. He was in where was he? He was in the office 2 days ago, and I walked him through everything with the Ultimate Fighter, and he's ready to go, and he's heading over there.
Do you have any other toughs? I know you got Canada, Australia tryouts. Any other ones that are in the works?
Yeah, we're working on Mexico too.
Did you get a chance, Dana, to speak with Chael regarding the joke he made about Rihanna and Chris Brown this week? To send out the apology. Were you pretty upset about that? What was your opinion on it?
You know, it's at the point where, you know, I'm not upset. Chael is a smart guy. He's a funny guy. He's a talented guy, and has a huge future. You just got to stop with the. You know, it's just First of all, the joke wasn't that funny. He's not a comedian. And you can't make fun of domestic violence or any other thing. You just he's a sports commentator now, and he's got to knock that shit off. He's got to stop. He's got to stop, or it's not going to be good.
Dana, how was Kane received at the Mayweather fight? Did you see? You know, there were a lot of Mexican fans there. Did they?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was big. So it wasn't Canelo big, but it was big.
Right. So it gave you hope that this is a boxing style.
It gave you hope.
Well, no. I'm saying, you know, you want him to be the guy in Mexico for you, right? So didn't that give you hope that, hey, you know, he's already, you know, crossed over?
He is by far our guy in Mexico, the biggest we've ever had. So, yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt that people there were screaming his name.
Is Verdum next in line for the winner of JDS Kane? Now they booked Brown versus Barnett.
I think so.
Yeah. He's going to wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dana, the fight between BJ and Frankie, whose idea was it to have that fight at 145? Because I'm actually really intrigued that it's at featherweight. That's why I want to see the fight.
Yeah.
Is that your idea or?
BJ.
He wanted to go to 145?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
BJ wanted to go to
Do you
145.
think he can make the weight safely? I mean, he's never fought there before.
We'll see, man.
Yeah.
We will see.
Says
Is
yes.
Dolce working with him?
He told me that unofficially.
I'm going to try to hook those two up, yeah.
And you have a partnership with Mike. I mean, you wanted him to work with Cyborg and stuff like that, right? So
partnership with who? With
Mike. I mean, like he does UFC fan and everything. But I remember like when Cyborg, you had talks with her, you wanted him to work with her, right? So I mean, do you like hire him kind of like, or contract him out kind of with these
No,
guys?
I mean, but if somebody says they have a hard time making weight, he's the go-to guy. I mean, he's done it with people who have always had trouble with weight, and they say it was the best weight cut they ever had. So if you think you can't make the weight, or you think you're going to have a hard time, or you think it's going to affect your performance, go with Mike Dolce.
What did BJ tell you? Like, how motivates you to come back and lay the beating on Frankie?
You know, only he knows that. But you know, when you talk to BJ, me and BJ have these conversations, and we get each other fired up. So, you know, I love BJ.
Right.
He's nutty as hell, but I love him.
Is that a 5-round fight? Sorry, that's the last question. Is that a 5-round fight?
Is that a 5-round fight?
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on where it's going to end up.
With the gyms you've got now and this fitness program you're launching, how big do you see as that part of the UFC future outside?
The gym business has been going nuts. And, I mean, that's going to be a completely different business on its own. And, you know, it's something that we're doing separate from the fighting, but we're bringing the fighters into it, too. You know, BJ Penn, we made him a partner in Hawaii, and other fighters are going to be partners in the gym business, too. So it's pretty cool.
Signs have been good so far?
It's been phenomenal. Yeah, we just bought out LA Boxing, and you know, so we have anywhere from 3,500 square foot gyms to 65,000 square foot gyms.
And I know fitness, Dolce has a great reputation, but it seems like a very crowded marketplace. You know, all the infomercials are ready with fitness choices. Did you guys have second thoughts about before sticking your toe in there?
You know, I agree with you, and yeah, I mean, we had a lot of guys working on that thing, and you know, a lot of smart guys who think it's the move. So we'll see what happens.
Do you think it
We will. I know you've been trying to ask me.
No, that's okay. I just want to go on this gentleman's comment. Do you think the fitness program, because, and I was talking to Mike myself about it, he wants it to involve not just fighters or people looking to, but the whole family, the kids, the wives, the sisters. Do you think because he's targeting such a larger group, it will transcend this, you know, the UFC and the fighting community and become more popular elsewhere and contribute to the UFC's obviously coverage? And yes.
Because I'm 44, and when I was growing up, your parents would put you in karate or taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed martial arts is the new martial art that women, men, kids are taking all over the world, not just here in Canada or the United States. And yeah, opening these gyms, the UFC gyms, I don't want to see a fighter within 100 miles of a UFC gym. These are for regular people to go in and train and learn mixed martial arts. And a lot of fighters who are active and retired work at UFC gyms too.
Is it exciting then to be able to market to people outside of those just interested in a career in fighting, but those just wanting to self-defense to protect themselves?
It's all for self-defense and getting in shape.
Awesome. And sorry to go back on something, and I don't want this to sound ignorant, but talking about Cruz and then stripping the title, you're a really busy guy, and you also really want to protect your fighters, and you have a relationship with them. How often do you have a chance to check in on those that are injured and personally talk to them?
As much as we can. You know, we if some time goes by, we'll be like, oh man, we gotta schedule a call and see how this guy's doing, this one's doing. We try to do it as much as we can.
And you're a very candid person as well. So when you are talking to them and saying, you know, this might be on the table, your title might have to be stripped depending on how you recover. You know, what's the reaction generally?
Well, we've never had that conversation with them. You know, We've said, listen, when are you coming back? And you know, the kid's had enough bad things happen to him, and I'm sure is under enough pressure and stress. Think about it. He hasn't made a living in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's how he makes a living, and he hasn't been able to fight in 2 years.
Yeah. Tough.
So,
okay.
Dana,
Thank you.
Just to sum it up, it sounds like it is safe to report, though, that this is the last interim title fight of 135 pounds. That you guys will make a decision. Either Cruz will come back, or if Cruz suffers another setback, that's it. I mean, Corral or Wineland will become the champion.
Yeah, I'd say that's safe to say.
Okay. And then another question I had, it's a bit personal. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But we know that you've been on blackjack tables before in Vegas. Was Saturday profitable at all for you in terms of that?
So I did that Google thing, and people were asking about the bet and whatever. I ended up, I had been saying the whole time, Mayweather by decision, and then I watched all the bullshit leading up to it, and I chickened out. I didn't bet on anything. I didn't bet.
It happens to a lot of
people. Lorenzo did really well, though.
You said that Jones had, you said that Jones had maybe, about for the last year, had been really doing well in terms of his role as champion. Did anything happen for that?
A lot of shit happened
for that turnaround. Was there anything specific that?
Yeah, I just think that, I think he went through a little crazy spell there, and then he pulled himself together. When that stuff happens to a young guy with fame and money and all the things that go along with it, that stuff either happens and they pull out of it, or they just go into a tailspin and it's over. He pulled himself out of it, and I'm really, I hate to say I'm proud of grown men, you know what I mean? But, I'm proud of the way that he's handled it.
Did you think it could go either way at some point?
It could go either way. It just, I've seen it happen so many times. You joked earlier, Chuck Liddell. When that happened to Chuck, boom, out of nowhere, he becomes rich, famous. He was crazy famous. Chuck Liddell was, if it was like, he was the UFC. He was, when you thought of UFC, you thought of Chuck Liddell. There wasn't anywhere he couldn't go that he'd walk in, he'd walk into a club. That guy over there thinks I'm a ladies' man. Chuck Liddell would walk in and have, 50 girls with him, and it just, the things that I saw in that 2-year stretch, you couldn't believe. You wouldn't even begin to imagine.
Does that still happen with your champions now?
No.
Can you compare
Chuck,
it at all?
No. Chuck wins. Chuck's the winner. Yeah. Chuck is the champion.
What are your plans for Canada in 2014, Dana, in terms of events? How many do you think?
Tom would know that. You got to ask Tom, right?
Dana, with the betting thing, can fighters bet on fights? Can they bet on themselves? Is that okay with you? Is that in the contract you can't? Or?
Well, it's not whether it's okay with me or not. It's, I don't know. Yeah, I think fighters can bet on themselves.
So they can't bet on themselves.
Yeah, they can't bet against themselves.
Of course they can.
They're allowed to
so
bet
okay.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
I know some guys that put money on themselves. Why not?
Floyd Mayweather bets on himself.
Puts on
a lot.
himself, right?
Yeah. Instead of betting on all these other games, Floyd should just be betting on himself his whole career.
Why do you think Chuck is the winner in that regard? Why do you think?
I don't think it. I know it.
Why do you?
Because I saw it and I lived it and I was there and nobody beats him.
But the sport is more popular today than it was back then.
Yep.
So how's that possible?
But I just don't know. At that time, Chuck Liddell was a rock star. Crazy. It was crazy. He ran Las Vegas, man. He could do anything he wanted. He could go anywhere he wanted. It was, and LA and anywhere else.
Well, why do you think that is? Because if there are more people watching today than back then, shouldn't John Jones or Anderson Silva or Chris Weidman be bigger than that?
What's the answer to that question?
I don't know.
I don't know either. He just was. He was, and Chuck was one of those guys that Chuck had that personality and that whatever it was. Some guys just have that thing. When he went out, man, it was crazy.
Have you had that talk at all with?
It was crazy. It was just crazy, man. I would have, back then I used to have these parties, whether it was at Mandalay or MGM up in my suite, and Chuck would come after he would fight, make an appearance at these things. It was insane. It was insane. It was nuts.
He appeals to the everyman.
He was a massive, crazy rock star in every sense of the word, Not just, he was a rock star. He was a fucking rock star.
That label, not to the extent of Chuck, but somewhat, a lot of fame has come Conor McGregor's way, a lot of money. He talks about the fact, to keep me hungry, I just spend everything after I make it. Do you talk to a guy like that and seeing kind of those warning signs that, man, this guy's in a world he's never been in before?
That's probably not a great philosophy, you know what I mean? I stay hungry, so I spend all my money. But he's young. He's young. He's up and coming. Anything's possible, He's not at a level where he's like making $2 million and he's blowing it all, so he stays hungry. The kid made 50 grand, and he went out and blew all 50 grand. Good for him. He's young. He can bounce back from that. You know what I mean? But as he sort of starts to settle in and starts to get used to everything, Ronda Rousey burst onto the scene, became a huge rock star, and media, all the shit people say about her, like, now people hate her. She deals with so much shit every day. That stuff alone. What I've noticed about the women that are different than the men, I can go on Twitter any fucking day of the week. You can say whatever you want to me. Give it to me, right? Women have a harder time with that. All the women have a harder time with that. With people saying horrible things about them and calling them horrible names and stuff. Women have a harder time with that stuff. They're more emotional than men are, and they take stuff harder than guys do. Ronda Rousey might be the toughest chick in the world, but at the end of the day, she's a girl.
You're going to get ambushed when this gets online.
But at the end of the day, she's a woman. It's the truth. At the end of the day, she's a woman. I don't care what anybody says. She's a woman, and women take that shit different than men do.
Just on Ronda Rousey.
You can't hurt my feelings. You can't.
Yeah.
There's not a fucking... I sit on Twitter all day, every day, and give it right back to people and go at it with people. I love it. When I'm in a car for 20 minutes, I'm like, let's go, boys. What do you got? You know?
The other day, Ronda in Bulgaria tweeted, didn't she? I'm really enjoying not being on Twitter.
Definitely.
It's a break in my life because of the abuse she is getting. You know?
No, women are way more emotional than men are, and especially with things like that. When people say, you know, horrible things about you, they take it differently than men do. And the fact that she has been able to do what she does and keep her head together and not, you know, slide off the tracks is a real testament to the type of person she is.
Is she doing the Fast and the Furious movie? Because last we heard from her, it was on, then it was up in the air.
I honestly don't know. She's there doing that movie, and that's all I know. And she's happy she did it. She said that this has really been good for her to get away from here. We worked her to death over the last year. I'm seriously, when fighters wouldn't do things, I'd call Ronda, and Ronda would do it, no matter where it was or what was going on. We worked her to death over the last year. Now she's there. She enjoys what she's doing. She built a camp there, and she's not reading anything that's going on over here. She's not on Twitter. She's loving it.
You're right about the emotional thing and the Twitter thing. It's hard to handle criticism, but I want to actually continue this Twitter thing. That, you know, I'm used to covering hockey and basketball where social media is very monitored. The players themselves, they can't be as candid as the UFC fighters are, and as you are yourself. And I think interviewing these guys and seeing how real they are with the media and how candid is a big part of the culture, and I think that's something you embrace and support. Do you ever envision a day where you're going to have to monitor what they're saying or kind of restrict that and be like, okay, take it easy?
Well, we do. You know, we do have to monitor some things. I mean, you can't say anything insane or crazy or hurtful or racist or
rape jokes.
Rape jokes.
With a rape joke. No, you did take action.
Yeah, or domestic violence or any of these kind of things that are serious issues. You can't do that stuff, and we've run into those problems. But you know what? The way that we approach everything, it's the real world.
Yeah.
You know, and people are going to make mistakes. You can't consistently keep doing it, and if you do, the results are not going to be good. Mm-hmm. It's like what we were just talking about with Chael. Mm-hmm. Chael needs to stop the comedy and do what he's on that show to do. Mm-hmm. He's great at it. He's super talented. Leave the jokes to the comedians.
But otherwise, the chirping between each other, like, you like that because it brings, you know, the attention to...
I'm the worst.
Yeah, that's true.
Go on my timeline.
Hey, Dan. All right. It seems like John Jones, one of his goals going forward, talking about Colin, talking to him, is just be in movies as well. Is it just an accepted part of this, you know, for you guys at this point, if a guy starts to transcend his spot in sport?
Well, it's like the Ronda thing. Here's the difference. Ronda is awesome about it. What Ronda does is every time somebody calls her, an agent or whoever, she gets me in the loop and says, this is what they're offering me. What are our options? Can we make this happen? If everybody did that, there would be no issues. It's when they go off and sign this shit on their own and then say, oh, here's what we're going to do. And I'm like, well, this is where you work, and that doesn't work for me.
Quentin Jackson.
They're paying you jack shit. We're paying you a lot of money.
Are you getting any, I know it's not, November's a couple of months away, but are you getting any feel for how the GSP Hendricks build-up is going?
Awesome. As far as tickets, we released more tickets in Vegas. And yeah, I mean, I got a month ago, I had people hitting me up for tickets. I'm like, that fight's not even until November, you know, so that's going to be a big fight when it comes. Every George St. Pierre fight is big.
Speaking of that card, is the Alistair Overeem versus Frank Mir fight kind of do or die for both guys in the UFC?
Definitely.
What's the logic in booking Overeem for another fight so soon after he's been brutally knocked out twice in like 6 months?
What's the what?
The logic in booking him again so soon. He's been knocked out twice in like 6 months.
The doctor says he's ready.
Sounds good.
Yeah. The doctor clears him. He's ready to go.
Dana, Tarek Safin, I think you guys had planned to match him up with Matt Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler, and then Matt Brown as well, if I'm not mistaken. Is he just not recovering fast enough from his injuries?
Yeah, he's hurt.
What's the injury? You don't know, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the fight between Condit and Brown? Because I think all of us are super excited.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that. First of all, I think Matt Brown deserves it. I mean, the guy's been on this win streak. Everybody's been saying, when's he going to fight somebody that matters? And here we go.
You think if he wins
Not that the guys he fought didn't matter. I just mean top 10.
If he wins that fight, because he has 6 in a row right now. If he wins 7 against Carlos Condit, number 3 guy, title shot possibly?
Huge for him. Huge. Yeah. Huge for him.
It's nice to see that, eh? Like a guy who's on the undercard for so long.
Yep. Doesn't bitch, doesn't complain, goes in, does his job, and now he's getting the opportunity he deserves.
Yeah, he's got a Fight Master question for you.
I don't watch Fight Master. I was asking. Actually, let me ask you another question. Because I had said something on my podcast, and like Bellator had emailed me saying like, just talking about the negativity, I guess, from what I was saying. Do you guys do you email like media members if you hear something or they say something critical
about us?
Yeah.
No.
As long as you back up facts.
I go after people that don't use facts or don't check both sides of the story. They'll go with one side of the story and not the other side of the story. MMA junkie. That's when I, you can say whatever you want about us. You can criticize us. There's this big myth that if you say something bad about me or the UFC, you're going to get blackballed and all that. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. He says bad shit about us all the time. You know what I mean? Me? But at least he gets his facts. He doesn't go out and take one side of the story and not tell both sides of the story. And the stuff that he's saying is his opinion. He disagrees and doesn't like the fact that we're doing this and he thinks we're wrong. Everybody has an opinion, but don't try to write a story that's supposed to be fact and it's not, or it's not both sides of the story. Because you can pick up the phone and call UFC PR team any day, and there's never a day that I won't get on the phone with somebody from the media. I mean, I sit in these scrums for hours. I get to the point where people are asking me questions about Bellator and shit, and you know what I mean? And I'll sit here as long as you guys want to talk to me and you have good questions for me. Just facts on both sides of the story.
Going off that, there was a report in Deadspin probably about a month ago now about alleging that the UFC had an affiliation with Fightland, the Vice spinoff, and kind of going off what you were saying about the Deadspin report was saying that UFC blackballs, media members that talk bad about them and they're in with Vice and stuff like that.
Is that true though? And when you talk about me not letting people come cover the UFC, you're talking from the early days when we first started the sport, first started this company, and got involved in the sport. We're talking about things that went on behind the scenes between me, and at the time those guys weren't media. They owned fucking websites. They owned their own business, and were battling with me over their business versus my business. So Deadspin, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Who have I blackballed from the UFC in the last, and who have I blackballed anyway? Yes, I will not credential Josh Gross. I will not credential Loretta Hunt. And who else? I don't even know who that is. Who else? Who is that?
I wish you would blackball Garrett.
Yeah. Who else? But seriously, who have I said, you said bad shit about me, you're blackballed? Who have I said that to? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
But in the history of fight sports, promoters have always had close relationships with the media. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's in the history of 150 years of boxing.
The stuff that went on early in the days with Sherdog and things like that, Sherdog owned a business. Do you know what he did? Yeah, he wrote some stories and shit, but do you know what he really did? He sold UFC DVDs. That's how he made money. That's how he funded his website. No media covered us. Nobody. You think he had fucking sponsors? You think his website was run by sponsorship? No, we didn't even have a sponsor. He had a sponsor? He sold UFC DVDs. And he called me one day. When we finally got a DVD distribution deal, right? The distributor started selling the DVDs. Well, they were charging more. He had to pay more for them, so he wasn't making as much money. So he gave me an ultimatum, and you can imagine how that went.
Are you ever going to release those Dark Age DVDs? Because there's from UFC 13 to like 39. There's
just no money in it. There's no money.
I'll buy it.
Oh, well, good. There's one.
I'd love to buy it. Honestly, I would.
But there's fucking maybe 8,000 people
there's
that would buy it.
There's some hardcore fans out there, though, Dana.
I know, but not that many.
They'd love to see victory in Vegas.
Yeah.
Hey, Dana, just a quick
that
question.
one I think actually was on DVD.
Okay. Just a question. A guy, obviously Alexander Gustafsson's fighting the main event. A guy who's supposed to fight was Gegard Mousasi. He was on Ariel's show this week, talking that he's getting healthier. He's a guy that, is probably going to drop to the middleweight division. Who would you like to see him matched up with? And also, who, have you heard anything about his health and as far as when he's going to get back in the cage?
No, he was going to be out for a while. He had knee surgery. Right. Which, when was that last fight in Sweden? How long ago was that?
April, 5 months ago.
Yeah, he's out. He's still going to be out for a while. Yeah. That was 5 months ago.
But he's still a guy, though, that, has a good pedigree. He's a guy that definitely is...
Love him. Tough guy.
Great fighter, and, he's a guy that people kind of forget of because of the injuries, because of the fact that he hasn't fought in a while. Is he obviously still a guy that's still on your guys' radar as far as, a top fighter?
Of course, yeah. He's got to be healthy first, though.
Right.
When he's healthy, we'll give him a fight that makes sense at whatever weight class he wants to fight, and then we'll go from there.
What would you like to see him fight in middleweight? It's he's a bit of a smaller guy for that division.
Another 5 months. The landscape changes so much. Anthony Pettis is the champ now. Anything can happen. So we'll see what it looks like in 5 months, and we'll decide.
Dana, have you talked to Rich Franklin lately?
No, I haven't. What the hell did I see Rich? I saw Rich somewhere, and I don't think he has. I think he wants one more fight. I think he wants to fight again. It's so hard for these guys to retire. It's so hard to make the "I'm retiring" statement. It's hard.
Did he give you like a time
Nothing.
frame?
No. He's out there working on. He's building a business right now. He started his own business. Yeah. So he's out there working on that and building his business, and hopefully it takes off and he makes millions of dollars and doesn't want to do that last fight. That's what I'd love to see happen. Huh?
You'd rather see him not do it?
Yeah, it's just, you know what? When guys get to a certain age, my question becomes why? Why go in and fight again? I know you love it. I know this is who you are and everything else, but if he does this juice bar thing and it takes off and he makes millions of dollars, good for him. I'd rather see that happen.
Dana, who's the one who matched the fight between Chris Lieben and Uriah Hall? Because those are two guys that you said could be on the outs considering their last couple of fights. Did you make, I guess, the matchmakers, or was that when you specifically made? Because I know you do make some matches yourself.
Yeah, no, Joe wanted to make that fight. He called me 2 days ago.
And you're cool with it? Because I know you were pretty critical of Uriah's last two fights.
Yeah, very critical. And he sent me a text and said, I appreciate what you said. It lit a fire under me. And I said, it better, and then, so he's in this place where he looks like he's going to come off the show and dominate the world and completely flops. Then Chris Lieben is a guy that I was saying, with his fighting style, I don't know how many more times I want to see him fight. So this is an important fight for both of these guys.
Did you talk with Uriah beyond that little text exchange?
Not really. No. I mean, what else do you say to the guy? I care about the kid. I like him. He's one of the nicest human beings you could ever meet. Which is, therein lies the problem. It really is part of the problem. He has no killer instinct whatsoever.
But how did he have it on the show?
I have no idea. And it wasn't even like he had the killer instinct on the show. He was catching guys with some good shit. You know what I mean?
Do you see a parallel with him and Philippe Nover where, you thought Nover was going to turn into
He's
something?
a whole nother level than Nover. Nover looked good, but, I was saying shit about Philippe Nover. Everybody was saying shit about Uriah Hall. Everybody was talking about that kid. People were saying, we want to see him versus Anderson Silva. You know what I mean? That's how much hype there was behind Uriah Hall.
Dana, Joe Silva, the Bachelor, he did an interview with MMA Junkie, or USA Today, I should say, and he also did an interview with MMA Canvas Australia. This is a guy who's never did interviews before. Are you guys letting him do a little bit more media now?
It's not that we're letting him do more media. There was these guys did a big story on all the people in the industry.
Right,
so
right. There was another one though. He did a video interview in Australia for the Tough Nations tryouts, I guess.
Yeah.
It's rare stuff. It was nice to hear him talk about the fights and what he's looking for, the skills, and it's really interesting stuff. But he'll never be available like this. Had to ask.
Dana, Mousasi fought Ilir Latifi, who hasn't fought since that fight. Are there any plans for him in the future?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
And also, you were looking at going to Finland. Is that something that's being looked at still, or is that?
Yeah, it's just like the Poland question. Yeah, we're looking to go everywhere. Don't know when, don't know, but yes.
Dana, do you have any concern whatsoever that BJ won't be able to make 145 pounds?
No.
How come? It seems like,
He said he wants to do it. He said he'll do it, and You know, it's up to him now.
Is it safe to say this is his last shot if he can't beat Frankie this time around?
Yeah.
Is it going to be like a Chuck Liddell situation?
Yeah. Yeah.